Alrighty, so another weekend of MLS action is upon us as we are about to have match week number 8 of the 2022 MLS season, where once again we're going to see 14 games that's going to happen. And what's good about this weekend is that most of these games are pretty much spaced out in between the day, especially tomorrow, where, I talk about every time in terms of the Saturday action, it gets really busy, especially during the prime time and the meat of the action between like 7:30 or 8:30 p.m. Eastern. But for this week, there is going to be time where there's going to be 6 games that's going to overlap each other, but at least it's not going to be for very long, and those 6 games are usually these late games, and then of course the West Coast game begin. And also we're going to get 10 games that's going to be happening on Saturday, and 4 of them is going to happen on Sunday. And in this video I'll do the preview of the 10 games that's going to happen tomorrow, and then on Saturday I'll do the preview of the 4 games that's going to happen on Sunday. So with that being said, let us actually begin with the first game of match week number 8. And what a way to kick off match week number 8 with a derby game. And the first ever Copa Tejas of the season, with FCDHOU taking on the Houston Dynamo in El Capitan. I mean, I guess you can maybe call this now kind of like a Copa Tejas match. You have like 3 Texas teams, but I know a lot of people will always say that this is the Texas Derby, aka El Capitan. But this is the game that will start at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 2:08 p.m. local time. And unsurprisingly, this game is going to be broadcast on 2DN and also going to be on a Twitter stream. Like literally almost every Texas Derby is usually going to be happening on 2DN. Like there's only one time I remember a Texas Derby that was actually on FS1, and people said that it's kind of weird, the fact that it's on that in terms of national televised, because we're just so used to it being broadcast on 2DN and on Twitter, and that is exactly the case once again in this one. Now, coming into this game, both of these teams have had a good record, 3-3-1. And this was really probably one of the first Texas Derby that we have seen before, where both of these teams are actually competitive. And in some way, I know Dallas, a lot of people said that they were going to be much more competitive and is going to bounce back after a rough season last year. That's not the same case about the Houston Dynamo. I mean, it's been a great season for the Dynamo to start their year, and kind of unexpected too, because I thought this was going to be a team that was going to be rebuilding under Paulo Nakamura, and at least in the early part of the season, he has done a good job in terms of guiding this team on the cusp of basically just being above the red line right now, which definitely exceeds a lot of expectation that Dynamo fans have about their team. But in terms of the all-time meeting of El Capitan, we got Dallas have a slight edge over Houston, 16, 17, and 14. I mentioned before, this is kind of a rivalry that has seen a lot of draw in it. But, lately there hasn't been as much draw as, I remember doing the 2017 and 2018 and 2019 stretch, where literally almost every game in terms of this Texas Derby and in a draw. That's just have not been the case, because there's been more times that there is going to be a team that wins after the end of this game. And the last 5 head-to-head matchup, it was Houston winning 3-2 against FC before we did see a 2-2 draw and then a 1-1 draw that Dallas and Houston has. But before that, Dallas was able to win 3-0 at home against Houston, and then Houston was able to win 2-0 against FC Dallas. So certainly the home team has definitely dominated the last couple of Texas Derby. But yeah, this should be a very interesting game, and in some way, I would say Dallas would be the favorites coming into this game, because it's been a long time since Houston is able to go on the road to Toyota Field and Frisco and able to get a resort or even get a win over their hated Texas Derby, but or Texas rival. But it's gonna be interesting to see how this first ever Copa Tejas match is going to look like. Now, moving on, in terms of the next match, we got the Philadelphia Union taking on Montreal, as the Union, of course, last week become the final team to finally suffer their first loss of the season, and their record is now 5-1-1. They're playing against a Montreal team that, they definitely have played much better now under Wilfred Nancy, although, last week they came oh so close of once again going back to the Montreal team that was in the beginning of the season, which is kind of blowing leads and Chile as soon as they face adversity, and now they got themselves back to 500 with 3-1-3 record. This game will also start at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, and it will also kick off the same time as the game between Dallas and Houston only it's going to be 3:08 local time that this game is going to be happening. All-time meeting, Montreal, of course, having 9-8-8 record over the Union. But in terms of the top goal scorer for both of these teams, for the Union, Daniel Gastak has really been their main goal scorer for this team with 4 goals this season, followed by Kai Wagner, Corey Burke, and Julian Carranza with 2 goals for the Philadelphia Union. I mean, Carranza has already scored as many goals for the Union as he has for Inter Miami last season. For Montreal, Georgi Mihailovic, who, there's been a lot of whisper the fact that he is now already in the early running for MVP, not only because of him contributing to the goal scoring, but also on the assist chart. He leads the team with 4 goals, followed by Romeo Kyoto with 3 goals. Then you got a couple of players with 1 goal. 2 of those players are Zachary Brogiot and Rudy Camacho with 1 goal apiece. So, yeah, this should be an interesting game, and that, for the Union, obviously they want to bounce back after that tough loss that they had against Toronto FC in a game where I didn't think they played badly in that one, but it's just the finishing wasn't there for them, and now they get to take against a Montreal team that, like I said, this feels like it's a revitalized Montreal team, and that they've started to kind of live up to the potential that they had, where a lot of people said that this was a dark horse team because of how deep that this squad is. Now, moving on, in terms of the next match, is Minnesota versus the Chicago Fire. So, the good news for the Loons last week is that they finally got their offense going. The bad news is they're about to play against a team that do not give up a lot of goals, and this makes me wonder, I think this is a game where, I feel like this might be harsh to say, but it could maybe be a measuring stick of whether or not if that was just a mirage of them getting 3 goals against Colorado, and now they have to play against the toughest defensive team in the league, that is the Chicago Fire, who they seem to love to draw 0-0 this season, because all 4 of their draws that they had has been 0-0 draw, and they have a record of 2-4-1, while Minnesota is back above 500 with a 3-2-2 record. This game will start at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is actually wrong, not 2:08 p.m. local time, it's actually 4:08 p.m. local time. Forgot to put this in Central Time. And this game, of course, is going to be on ESPN. I mean, this is also kind of a weird game to be on national television, because there really isn't a rivalry between Minnesota and Chicago. I mean, in other sports, yes, there definitely is that rivalry, especially in the NFL with the Vikings and the Bears as NFC North Division rival. But, in MLS, it doesn't seem like that's the case, even though the 2 teams are not actually separated by that much. It's only about, I think, 350 miles. That is where Minnesota, of course, play in St. Paul compared to the distance at Soldier Field in Chicago. But obviously, they're not really a divisional rival, because they're not even they're not really a rival in sake, because they're not even in the same conference. But this is a good chance for both of them playing against each other, and that this is also only the 5th meeting between both of these teams, with Minnesota have a slight edge of a 2-1-1 record over the Chicago Fire. Top goal scorer for Minnesota, you got Luis Almeria and Robin Le leads the team with only 2 goals. Then you got Abu Denlani and Bakai Debasi with 1 goal for Minnesota. For Chicago, Kasper Shabilko has 2 goals, followed by Jonathan Bornstein, Ivanov, and also Jordan Shaqiri with one goal, and that really is the only goal scored for the Chicago Fire this season, because, as much as, yes, they have been the most potent defensive team in the league with only giving up 2 goals, they've also been one of the lowest goal scoring team, and hence that's why they have just so many 0-0 draws so far. So, yeah, something tells me that, when you have 2 teams that struggle to score goals, but you also have 2 teams that is very good defensively, because I know this year Minnesota has been very good in terms of their defense, and a lot of part is that their back line definitely looked much better than last season, but also the guy between the stick by the name of Dane Sinclair is basically trying to win goalkeeper of the year with the great performance that he has had in the early part of the season. That kind of is the reason why the Loons have been very unstoppable on the defensive end. But that goes the same with the Fire, because they also have a guy called Gaga Slonina, who's also trying to be in the running for goalkeeper of the year, with him keeping clean sheet game after game. So, yeah, I mean, don't be surprised this could end in a 0-0 draw, but let's just hope that that's not going to be the case. I mean, for the sake of both fan base, I know Fire fans are probably happy with the start that they have under Israel Henriksen, but some probably are irritated with so many 0-0 draw that they had. And then, of course, in Minnesota case, this is another 0-0 draw, you just wonder that, yeah, I mean, maybe that game where they finally broke through on the attack against the Rapids was more like a mirage, and that they still have problem in the attacking end. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is DC United versus the New England Revolution. So there's two games that I actually are looking forward to in terms of seeing a new interim head coach coaching their first game. I almost say playing. I mean, they are playing the players, but they're coaching in their first game against an opposition, and this of course is the case with DC United. Obviously, Hernan Losada no longer as the head coach of that team, and of course we'll still have to make that video talk about Losada during his reign, and also kind of talk a little bit more information about the Losada firing, because it turns out I actually got more information of why exactly Losada got fired, but besides the thing that I mentioned in the News of the Week episode, and I'll talk more about that in a video next week. But they are playing against the New England Revolution in this game, and by the way, DC of course have Chad Ashton as their interim head coach, basically the same interim head coach that when DC fired Ben Olsen just 2 years ago. But they're coming into this game with a 2-0-4 record and have lost 4 in a row against a Revs team that maybe they're starting to figure it out after a much needed win against Charlotte to improve their record to 2-1-4. This game will start at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. All-time meeting between both of these teams. Two of these teams are original MLS team that came into the league since its inception. So there's been a lot of meeting between both of these teams, and it's been relatively close too, with DC have a slight edge of a 38-16 and 35 record over New England. Top goal scorer for DC United, Ola Kamara is the leading goal scorer with 4 goals, followed by Michael Estrada with 2 goals, and then Russell Canals have 1 goal, and that's pretty much the only players that has been able to score for DC, as it's pretty clear that they definitely struggle on the attacking end. Well, for New England, you got Carlos Hill with 3 goals, followed by a bunch of guys with 1 goal so far. Guys like Josie Altidore, Emmanuel Boateng, and Adam Buxaw with 1 goal for the New England Revolution. But like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how DC is going to play, and especially, anytime when you have a head coach that's been fired and an interim head coach does come in, you do get that interim head coach boost of how a lot of these players is definitely going to play hard for their interim head coach. And for some of these players that have actually been in this team for a while before even Hernan Losada was coaching this team, I'm pretty sure they already have nailed the shtick that they definitely want to perform well, so that they can do well to keep their jobs in the position that they play. And yeah, we'll see whether or not if DC were able to get that coaching boost to finally getting their first win and to snap their 4-game losing streak, or the refs. We'll see whether in the last game when they finally got their first win, is this something finally kind of get them off and running of a season that it's just not gone the way that Bruce Arena was hoping this team would be in the season that they were supposed to be MLS Cup contender. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is Austin versus the Vancouver Whitecaps. Now, this matchup actually isn't really beneficial for Austin, because I know there's been a lot of people that talk about how, yes, Austin is in second in the Western Conference, and it's been an incredible start for them. But the thing is, they had a cakewalk schedule to start the season, and this doesn't really kind of help their cases in terms of continue to maybe get another win and just prove that they are actually for real when they're about to play against another opponent that is not doing very well this season in the Vancouver Whitecaps. And also, with the way that Austin basically had a cakewalk schedule to start the season, that means they're going to get a lot of tough games coming up. And I think there is some tough games coming up in the schedule, where those are the games that, as I mentioned, when they do face against those tough opponents, will really show whether or not if Austin is actually for real, or the fact that they are taking advantage of playing some easy team. But at least in this case, they're going to be playing another easy team in the Vancouver Whitecaps, which has had a rough start to the season under Vanni Sartini's first full year. As this game will start at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. All-time meeting between both of these teams. Now, the Whitecaps does won the 2 meetings last year against Austin, as they have a 2-0-0 record. And top goal scorer for Austin, Austin, one of the most lethal team in the attack, and I think they're also tied with the most goal scorer any team has had so far this season. And it's not surprised to see the fact that there are a couple of guys that already have 2 goals. One of them is Sebastian Giroussi, which, I talked about last season. He's a guy that is worth every single penny that Austin basically paid him last year, and he just elevated his game even more. I mean, with 5 goals so far this season, followed by Cecilio Dominguez, who, unfortunately Austin will not be seeing him anytime soon because of the ongoing off the field scandal that he has to deal with. He has 2 goals to his name, followed by Ethan Finley with 2 goals and Max Urruti with 2 goals. For Vancouver, you got Tristan Blackman, Lucas Cavallini, Christian DeHome, and Ryan Gold with 1 goal apiece. And this is also another team that struggled to score a goal this season, and also struggled to keep the ball out of net too. So, when that of course happened, that Austin is going to be heavy favorites, and that I mean, unless if this is going to be another one of those crazy MLS games where I know this is a league where you expect the unexpected, and somehow Vancouver pull off a big upset. There's no doubt that Los Verde is going to be heavy favorites in this one, and especially they're probably going to be playing with some anger with the way that they got knocked off in the last game that they play in the U.S. Open Cup against San Antonio. And I know some Austin fans will say, well, that's the U.S. Open Cup. We really don't care about that competition. Yeah, but you lost to San Antonio. And San Antonio, last time I checked, it seemed like they're actually you're one of the team that is close by with you, and a team that they definitely want some revenge because of the way that I'm pretty sure San Antonio fans are probably still upset with the way that Austin of course gets an MLS team and they didn't get one. And I think that US Open Cup was kind of some revenge of the fact that we probably don't even need them to go to MLS and still able to beat Austin in that US Open Cup game. But what I'm trying to say is that when you lose to your rival in the US Open Cup, even if it's not in the same league, I don't think that game should count as a game where you can just easily put away and say, oh, we're getting back to league play and basically get things back to normal. But we'll see if that of course is the case for Austin in this game. And then finally, the last game on this board, we got Sporting KC versus the Columbus Crew. And this is definitely the definition of a desperation derby, because both of these teams has had a nightmare start to the season, especially for Sporting KC's sake. They have a record of 2-0-6, and they have by far lost the most game out of any team right now in MLS. Whereas for the Columbus Crew, don't let that record fool you. The fact that, besides their first couple of games where they were looking good, but these last couple of games, they have looked like a team that is shell of their old self, and they have a record of 2-3, and also have been losing multiple games at home. This game will start at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. All-time meeting, Sporting KC does have a 26-9 and 23 record. In terms of the top goal scored for Sporting KC, when Remy Voltaire is your top goal scorer, you have issue in terms of attack, as he, of course, have scored 2 goals, followed by Roger Espinoza with 1 goal, Johnny Russell with 1 goal, and Daniel Shaarawy with 1 goal. And I've said before, if they could not get Russell and Shaarawy going this season, Sporting KC is in real trouble in terms of the attack, and it's unsurprising that both of these guys have not got going so far this season, and they have really struggled to score goals. Meanwhile, for Columbus, it's pretty much been the Lucas Zarian show, as he has scored 4 goals, but besides that, you got Derek Etienne with 2 goals, Miguel Berry, who hasn't really replicated the great success that he had last season with only 1 goal, and also Lucas Diaz with 1 goal for this team. And speaking of a team that is coming off of a cup upset in the U.S. Open Cup, Columbus, of course, lost to Detroit City, and they were, of course, playing in a hostile environment. Guess what? They get to play against... They get back to the league, and they get to play against another team that plays in a hostile environment. I mean, I know Children's Mercy Park, at least for this season, isn't as hostile as we've seen before. But believe me, Sporting KC, they're still a team that can of course get wins at home, and that this is a game where both of these teams desperately need a result. And not to mention, Columbus is a team that when they're on the road, it's pretty much almost automatic L, with the way that they are one of the teams that struggle the most on the road. You just feel like now that it adds even more pressure that Sporting KC have to win this game and have to get out of this really deep hole that they've already digged themselves in. I mean, they're sitting like what, 13th right now in, well, actually no, 12th in the standing right now in the West, and they have play already the most game and have suffered the most loss. They want to get themselves back to playoff contention and live up to the potential. They need to start winning games, and it all starts when they play against another team that is struggling right now. That is the Columbus Crew. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 4 games that's going to be happening in terms of the Saturday action of match week number 8. So moving on, in terms of the next game, is the Colorado Rapids versus Charlotte FC. Now, for the Rapids, these last couple of games, it has been very infuriating for their fan base to watch, because you know that these last couple of games, you know, even though they are going through a bit of a winless run, none of their last couple of games that they lost have seen them look bad in any of those games. In fact, a lot of those games was because of the fact that they aren't able to put away their chances, and the opposition, of course, were able to be more clinical, and that's why they, of course, were able to get a result. Now, they are going to be playing against the expansion team, Charlotte FC, who, you know, after that good start that they had just a couple of games ago, they definitely started to come back down to earth. And, you know, a lot of the reason why is that they are a team that is struggling to get row points, and that's kind of been the case with a lot of expansion team. You know, I know that when you look at these last couple of expansion team, a lot of them really tends to struggle on the road. But this game, of course, will start at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:08 p.m. local time. By the way, Charlotte has a 3-0-5 record, while Colorado has a 2-2-3 record. This, of course, is the first ever meeting between both of these teams. And the top goal scorer for the Rapids, you got Diego Rubio with 4 goals, followed by Marc-Anthony Kaye with 2 goals. Then you got Lalas Abubakar with 1 goal, and Jonathan Lewis with 1 goal to round up the top 4. For Charlotte, it's still Karol Świdecki with 4 goals, followed by Jordi Alcivar with the Olympic goal that he scored. Then you got the guy that, of course, scored the first ever goal for Charlotte history in Adam Oliver with 1 goal. And then you got Ben Bender with 1 goal to round out the top 4 in terms of the top goal scored for this team. And yeah, you know, for the Rapids, they're definitely desperate to try and to get themselves back into a winning column, because again, you know, Charlotte is a team that struggled on the road. They're still searching for their first road points, and this is definitely going to be one that's going to be tough to do so, because Colorado is a team that do not drop resort at home. And let's see if the Rapids can get themselves back on track and really kind of finally release the frustration that they had in these last couple of games. That, you know, like I said, they haven't played badly in these last couple of games, and in some way they actually been the better team in these last couple of games, but because of the lack of finishing, they have been kind of been on the wrong end of these results because of that. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is the Portland Timbers versus RSL. So you would think that a rematch of the Western Conference Final would mean that this game is on national television. No, it's not. This game is just going to be on regular regional television, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:08 p.m. local time. And again, you know, I guess maybe the reason why this might not be on national television is because, you know, RSL is a team that, you know, rarely been on national television. Well, the Timbers, they've been on national television almost every week, and I think maybe the people in MLS are going to try to slow things down, and that, you know, they want to at least give the Timbers regional broadcast a share of their games instead of just putting them on national television every single week. But yeah, this game, of course, will start at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:08 p.m. local time. All-time meeting, both of these teams have 13 wins apiece and 8 draws. Top goal scorer for the Timbers, you got Jimmy Chara with 3 goals, followed by Darren Espria with 2 goals. Yaroslav Nishgoda with 2 goals, and Bill Tuiluma with 2 goals. For RSL, Tate Schmidt and Bobby Wood, surprisingly, are the 2 top goal scorers with this team with 2 goals, followed by Sebastian Cordova with 1 goal and Justin Glad with 1 goal. And there's no doubt that, you know, RSL have really come back down to earth after that surprising start that they had. And really, speaking of coming back down to earth, they really crashed down in the last game. I mean, the last game was an absolute embarrassment, where they lost to a USL League One team that was only playing their 4th game of the season in Northern California. or not Northern California, Northern Colorado hailstorm. I swear, I made the same mistake I did yesterday in the News of the Week episode, calling them Northern California. But, it's Northern Colorado hailstorm that they, of course, lost to, and that's kind of a tough one to try to recover when you now have to go on the road to face against a Timbers side that, they're in the last game they definitely did not play well against the Houston Dynamo, and this is still a team that is going through that slow start pattern that they have. But this is a good chance for them to get another win in this one against an RSL team that, like I said, they have really come back down to earth in the last couple of games. But who knows? Maybe RSL might think about getting some revenge in this game too, because I know a lot of these RSL players have not forgotten what happened back in December, and especially a lot of these players are about to go to that stadium where they was just also close of completing a Cinderella story that we have not seen since the 2010 Colorado Rapids, a 7 seed, go all the way to MLS Cup and representing the West in terms of MLS Cup. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is the San Jose Earthquakes versus the Seattle Sounders. And I think this is probably the first time I'm wearing a Quakes jersey, or in this case, this is the Quakes Parlay jersey that they unveiled, which I still wear this because I think this jersey is a mile better than the current away kit that they has had, and in some way a little bit better than the one that they have in terms of the home kit. Now, normally, this is a matchup that I would say it's an automatic L whenever the Quakes play against Seattle, because, the Quakes, as I mentioned, they have had a very bad record against the Sounders, only win one game out of the last 14 against Seattle. But something tells me that if there's any games that I think the Quakes might have a chance to win, this might be the one to do so, because, this is another game where it's feature a game where there's going to be a new head coach or a new interim head coach in Alex Carvalho, and this is the first time he's going to be coaching in the MLS level, and we already saw in the first game under him when the Quakes play against Bay City, the Quakes play easily their best game of the season, and I have a feeling, I know even though in that game a lot of those players were just kind of backup player and youth players, but I have a feeling probably the first team is going to do so. And it's also a combination of the fact that, I would also say that, I'll probably even write Tacoma Defiance here for the Seattle Sounders, and once again put Seattle/Tacoma Defiance, because that they have a big game coming up in the middle of the week. Like, they have the biggest two-legged affair game of their franchise history by playing against Pumas. So there's no doubt that Brian Schmetzer is not going to start his strongest team, especially against a team that is winless this season, in the Quakes being at 0-3-4, while the Sounders are 2-1-3. Now, this game, of course, will start at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:08 p.m. local time. The Sounders, of course, despite they kind of dominate the Quakes in these last 14 meetings, they don't really hold that much of an edge in terms of the all-time meeting, only a 16-9-12 edge over the Quakes. But in terms of the top goal scorer, Jeremy Abovasi finally started to be living up to the potential that I thought he was, and started to look like the goal scorer that I remember during his day with the Portland Timbers, with 5 goals so far, followed by Francesco Calvo with 2 goals, K-Cal and Christian Espinoza with 1 goal. For the Sounders, so far this season they have really struggled to score goals in league play, as it's evidenced with the way that no players on this team have scored at least 2 goals, with Arriaga, Will Broom, João Paulo, and Freddie Montero with 1 goal, and a couple of more Sounders players have only got 1 goal so far this season. But yeah, like I said, this is a game that, even though it's going to be tough to play against a potential Sounders B team, you just have a feeling this is a game where with the new head coach and the fact that this might be the first time in years where I can see the Quakes actually playing a normal formation and actually playing players that is in the right position, maybe they finally will pull off I wouldn't even say an upset, but maybe finally get their first win of the season. And also, not to mention the fact that, despite the fact that the Quakes are still winless this season, they've been very good so far this season at home. Albeit, yes, they haven't won at home either. The 3 draws that they have so far this season, all of them have came at home, and all of them has just kind of symbolized the Quakes DNA of the team that, they never say die, a team that never gives up, and they have definitely proven in these last 3 games, where all 3 of these games that they end up getting a draw was because of some come from behind reserve. Now, ideally, I hope the Quakes don't go down early against the Sounders, because the Sounders, even if they're playing against a beat team, they're still a team that you go down early, you have no shot in terms of coming back. So let's hope the Quakes, of course, can get the first goal and, get a lead at home, where maybe there could be a case that this team could actually getting their first win of the season. But that being said, moving on into the last game of the Saturday action, we got the LA Galaxy versus Nashville SC, and for Nashville, it's finally coming to an end. The 8-game road trip that they start the season is finally going to end here, where they're playing against the Galaxy. And what a 8-game road swing that they has. I mean, they have really exceed expectation, and really exceed even what Gary Smith was project that they were going to do, with a 3-2-2 record, while the Galaxy have a 4-1-2 record. This game, of course, is the late game, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, but the actual kickoff is 7:38 p.m. local time. This, of course, is the first ever meeting between both of these teams, as it is the case with Nashville whenever playing against a team in the West Coast or in the Pacific Standard Time. Top goal scored for both of these teams. Unsurprisingly, the Galaxy is once again heavily relying on Chicharito, who is tied with the league lead 5 goals, followed by Efrain Alvarez, Koulibaly, and also Douglas Costa with 1 goal for the Galaxy. For Nashville, you got CJ Sapon with 2 goals, followed by Hani Mukta, who of course scored those 2 goals against the Quakes. Then you got Annabelle Godoy with 1 goal, Alex Mule with 1 goal, and then Dave Romney. I don't know why I call him Dan Romney for a second. I think I was going to say Dan Lovitz and combine him with Dave Romney, but yeah, Dave Romney, of course, with 1 goal for Nashville. And like I said, for Nashville, whatever happened in this game, it's been a success in terms of this 8-game road trip. And they're dying the fact that this is finally going to be the game where, they can finally looking forward to playing in front of their home fans, and especially with the way that they're going to be looking forward to the next game, where they finally get to play in their brand new stadium. But I'm pretty sure for Gary Smith, his mindset for these guys is that they shouldn't just look forward to that game and just kind of overlook the Galaxy, because again, this season the Galaxy has done very, very well, and that they're definitely looking to trying to get another win to chase down their intercity rival LAFC in terms of that top spot in the West. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the preview of the 10 games that's going to happen on Saturday. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this preview? And as always, let me know in the comments below your prediction of these 10 games that's going to be happening tomorrow. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I, of course, will see you guys next time.